Good day, and welcome to episode 9 of the Golden Triangle trip that we took in our 1971 HOBO houseboat. We started in Montreal, Quebec, cruised up the Ottawa River to the nation's capital of Ottawa, down the Rideau Canal to south to Kingston, Ontario, and up through the Thousand Islands, which is where this episode is today. This is Day 19 of our 3-week plus trip. It's July the 12th, 2024, and we're leaving Kingston Marina, where we'd spent an extra day just waiting out Hurricane Beryl's rain and bad weather, stormy weather. While we were there, we saw the SS Keewatin as well. But we left the marina. We headed a little bit east, a couple miles to the Olympic Harbor Marina, just slightly to the west, got some fuel, and then we proceeded back east. One thing you know here is the ferry that runs across to one of the large islands, Wolf Island. Our destination is the Thousand Islands National Park. On the way, we passed the Royal Military College just at Kingston and CFB, Canadian Forces Base Kingston, and Old Fort Henry. Into the National Park Islands we went. The National Park System owns many of these islands in the St. Lawrence, and they have docks, mooring balls, campsites, and they have basic facilities, usually just pit toilets, no water or electricity in almost all the cases. You can pay for use, day use, or for overnighting there. And in our case, we had a season mooring permit, which included all the national park docks and walls, such as the Rideau Canal, those in Montreal, Trent, Severn, Waterway, and so on. Okay, so that's your introduction to the Thousand Islands. Let's get to our trip now that we have left Kingston and we're on our way to Milton Island. We looped around to the east end of the island and made our approach into a rocky horseshoe-shaped bay, very rocky. A number of folks were there already who had stayed overnight. This was about 9:50 in the morning, and it was a Friday. We did a little quick view of the island, looking around at scenery, checking out everything here and the facilities. Here's a view roughly southeast from Milton Island. We docked over in the bay here on the sort of easterly end, and that's Howe Island over there. It's very long and narrow, so we're not far from the mainland behind us. You can see here it's all a Grenadier looking thing. It's actually quartzite, and it is reputed to glow a pinkish color at dawn and dusk. We had a good morning break walking around. Here's what caught our eyes: rocks, berries, lots of flowers, mushrooms, more mushrooms, and of course we made use of the facilities. After a half-hour break on Milton Island, we were underway once more downriver. We were headed ultimately towards Half Moon Bay on Bostwick Island. That's the red X. Bostwick Island is a private island. It's right in the midst of the Admiralty Island. Here are some of the names and locations of those islands. Bateau is French for boat or small boat. There's a Bateau channel above on the north side of Howe Island. It's a narrower passage. The freighters don't go here, but it's for smaller boats. It's a little more twisty and windy. That's the way that we took. We encountered the West End ferry first, and then there was a fair bit of boat traffic. This is Howe Island, and we're going to soon come up to the end of Howe Island, but we're in the Bateau channel. Bateau meaning boat. This was the more sheltered channel to the north, and that is the North Shore. And there, if somebody's lucky enough to have a beach, we've seen a few beaches, and the beaches tend to be a little bit of gravel and sand. So here we are, red marker on shore and the green marker. Since we're heading downstream, green to starboard. Here's some of the scenery as well. There are also some large tour boats, and you've got to keep out of their way, and they have their own mind where they want to go sometimes, and you basically keep out of their way. They make a significant wake.
Okay. Maybe, sorry, we should have done on the other side of him. Oh, his wake is going to be huge.
Well, you can tell we're at a busy Narrows here at the eastern tip of the island. There's a ferry, more boat traffic and so on. So we keep our eyes alert, and then we loop around down and go to the south side of, excuse me. Then we loop around down and go to the south side of Bostwick Island, looking for Half Moon Bay. We mind the charts on the south side of Bostwick Island, dodging the rocks and islands, and pick our way to Half Moon Bay, just on the south side of Bostwick Island. It's very hard to see the entrance. What is the significance of this place, you ask?
I don't want them to get hurt. They should. This is Half Moon Bay. And there's guys up there that are jumping off the cliff. I couldn't get them, but... Yep, it goes around, Andrew. You're right. And I don't see...
Hear me if necessary to keep to one side. I see the rock. I'm going to keep to the right where I can see rock.
Yep. And I don't see any rocks, but I see the bottom. It looks very clear.
The secret of Half Moon Bay is that it is a place of worship on Sundays. For years and years, the cottagers around would row or later motor their way to Half Moon Bay and have their Sunday services. Services are still held on Sundays. They rotate from different churches and pastors, and we were not there on a Sunday. We thought, hey, that'd be neat, but this was still just a Friday, so maybe next time we'll plan it that way. It was time to say goodbye and head to Gananoque nearby. So we went around Bostwick Island and threaded through a few islands, and we made our way to Gananoque. The waterfront is really great, good marina, and lots of things to see down at the waterfront. And of course, we had our ice cream, had a nice break, walking around. It's really a beautiful place to visit by land or by boat. We spent about 2 hours in Gananoque, had some ice cream and stuff to eat, and then we're heading across for our place to stay, which is Endymion Island, on the far side, right at the American border, to the southeast. The lake fleet consists of 2 islands, Camelot and Endymion. The mooring field on the west looked full, so we went around the point and looked at the dock on the east side. It looked pretty full, some big boats, so we went back to the mooring field and evaluated things, and we thought, all the balls are taken, but we're small and there's some shallow water. We can safely anchor in just behind everyone. Here we are, anchored on a bay on the south side of Endymion Island. Endymon. It's one of the Lake Fleet Islands, and everybody else is on an orange mooring ball. We're anchored in about 4 feet of water with a little bit of chain and a 28-pound anchor. We set it with the motor backing up. It seems pretty good. These people might actually have some of the current to keep them straight, but the wind is also the same direction. So we're right now swinging on our anchor pretty much straight, and we expect to stay that way. This is sort of a channel here. That's the US over there, and a lot of boats go by, so we get wakes, and we're rolling a little bit. I expect it to calm down a little bit later tonight. The only thing we have to be careful about is cooking, not to have a pot too full. And we're going to put out the swim ladder and have a swim now. Okay, are you on sand?
I'm on sand.
Okay. Very good. Yay. She spends a lot of the time in the water playing, but finally she came in, we had supper, and that's the end of our day, Friday the 12th. Saturday, July 13th, 2024, it's our 20th day. Note the shimmering in the trees. It's reflections from the water. The water is exceptionally clear. There's the branch there. When I anchored, I was concerned about not getting too close to it, but it's actually still under almost 3 feet of water, the top of the branch. But yeah, it's really something. We had schools of fish here earlier, about 5-6 inches. So we are getting ready to go and move on. There's no breeze, and the anchor line and chain are just hanging vertically. They pull up easily, and we silently pull out of our bay on Endymion Island. We're heading now to the Navy Fleet Islands, and we're going to visit one in particular, Mulcaster Island. On the way, there's this one little tiny island. They're hosting a bunch of sailboats today. Very popular. We left Endymion Island close to the U.S. border and headed our way to the north side of the channel up against the mainland, firmly in Canadian territory. We made our way through a number of islands. We made a point of actually viewing Mulcaster Island, and just a shout out to Wes. There are a lot of private islands and cottages within the Navy Fleet Islands. Not all of them are parkland. This beautiful old motorboat was just coming out of the boathouse when we came upon it. It's really remarkable. There are quite a few marinas on the mainland side around Ivy Lea, and Ivy Lea is a very busy place. We went by the Ivy Lea restaurant and dock. It was a little too early for lunch, otherwise we would have stopped. It's supposed to be a good place to stop. But just east of it was Pecks Marina. We needed fuel, so we topped up on fuel. And the fact that it wasn't lunchtime yet didn't stop us from grabbing an ice cream bar. As we travel further east, we come to the Ivy Lea Bridge. It's a major international crossing from Ontario across to Georgina Island. Then it makes a little hop across to Hill Island, and that's where the Canadian Border Services plaza is for international customs and so on. Then it hops over to Wellesley Island, where the U.S. Customs is, and then it hops over to the mainland, and it's I-81 south. We went down the channel fairly close to Georgina Island towards the bridge, and once we got through the bridge, we then did a right turn to the south around the eastern tip of Georgina Island, came back west, and we could see another segment of the bridge there that was leapfrogging off of Georgina Island, and there were the docks for the park. We're on the south side of Georgina Island. There's the international bridge, the portion that goes from this island to that island. I think that's Hill Island. The main channel is that away, and we're anchored here, or not anchored, but moored temporarily. This is actually a camping spot, but you can use it if nobody is using it. You have to verify if the campsite is used or not. So we're just going to look around a bit and then depart. That's the mainland over there on the Ivy Lea Bridge, Georgina Island, the main channel. And we're parked on the dock on the inside, I believe, what they call the Lost Channel. It's a shorter span of bridge. The wake, I came out here with the camera just to get a picture of this wake. This thing was bouncing up and down a foot. The front would go down a foot. This other one would go up a foot. It was a wake from a ship that went by, actually one of the tour boats. So you don't want to anchor or dock on this main river portion. There's no way you want to do that. Okay, this was about a 35 or 40 foot cruiser that went by, and this is the kind of wake you can expect. A ferry would be worse, but you see that heaving? Yeah, you don't want to dock, or we don't want to anyhow, a dock or moor on any section like this where we're going to get waked like that. All of the park islands have some amount of trails. This one has more than usual because it is a bit bigger. So there's a lot of stuff to explore and look at. And that's what we did for maybe 45 minutes more or so. Well, we had a break. It was time to get on to the final leg of our day's cruise. We left from behind the island. Yep, there's the cruise ships again. We got to watch for those tour boats and get underway, heading east again. We're entering now the Grenadier Island area. That's what of the park. It's really just one big long island, and it has 3 major docking sites. So we came up on the north side of Grenadier Island, and as we cleared the eastern tip of it, we could see the freighter traffic that would go down the south side of Grenadier Island. Also, we hugged the shore of Grenadier Island. Some areas, especially when you get to the north, it's pretty shallow, so we watched our depth. We were cutting corners to get around the east end of it so we could come back to Adelaide Island, which is just on the eastern tip. This is Adelaide Island. These are the mooring balls. We're going to stay in a mooring ball. You can see the dock just normally bouncing and jumping. The freighters go by here, and there are swells and wakes that come and wouldn't be so comfortable. So we'll go on the mooring ball. This is the least populated anchorage or dock we've seen so far. This is a Saturday. On Friday and Saturday we've seen at the various places we've stopped, islands just full, no capacity, or very little. So it's been very busy. So this is a little more remote. Adelaide Island is on the tip of Grenadier Island, and we were wondering, I was thinking it might be exposed. It sort of is, but the mooring ball will help. So this is very beautiful. Lots of homes. So, and we got a picnic shelter. There's a pit toilet. We'll be on the ball, so to speak, tied up, so we won't be using that. But this is really nice. It's about 2 o'clock, a little after 2 o'clock, and we're just going to stop now rather than press on because we've got a spot. And the anchorages and islands, well, the 1,000 Islands is pretty much close to an end now. So here's a quick scan of the island. It's your own private little desert island. But then it's time to get on the boat and let's get hooked up to that mooring ball. We found that the wind was more or less swinging us, so we're pointing southwest, more or less. However, when a freighter went by, about 10-15 minutes later, we would get a swell that was coming a little beam from the south, and that'd rock us. So what I did was set a stern anchor, and rather than move the boat and back it up in the shallow water, I just walked the anchor out, bedded it really well down on the sand, and aligned ourselves right into the expected wakes. I noticed our neighbor didn't do that. They were getting rocked all the time, but we were nice and smooth all night. Is the Mrs. Of the old hobo, and she is has just opened some tuna. So
Or salmon, actually.
oh, salmon. Well, that's pretty.
In a can.
In a can. That's great. This was a first. We had 2 park officials come by, and for both of us boats that were moored, check our passes. And bid us a good day. He almost ran over my rear anchor line, though. This is the second freighter we've seen go by in the last 6 hours or so that we've been here. There have been a few large tour boats, but that's it. We had a whole pile of some kind of fish duck, like, I don't know, maybe 2 flocks of them that were like 30, 40, 50 each. They're fighting over fish they caught. And now we have 2 swans, a pair of them have moved in, and they're a little more relaxing. They work together better than the ducks do. That's the end of this video, episode 9, covering the 12th and 13th of July. We're going to be leaving Adelaide in the next episode, Adelaide Island. We'll be heading, seeing Singer Castle, Mallory Town, Brockville, staying at Stoven Island in the Brockville group of islands. And beyond that, we have Iroquois. And we'll probably break it into another episode after that, our final trip to Cornwall. So stay tuned for those episodes. I'm trying to release them one a week now to finish up this series on our trip from Montreal to Ottawa, down the Rideau to Kingston, and up through the Thousand Islands to Cornwall. Okay, thanks.